in our surnames we are the same with the other guys. Like you are. Mr. Brown, our Hafiz, our Qari is a Brown. And you'll find another Brown is a Christian. Correct. I had a lady yesterday, Mrs. Johnson. She's a Muslimah. I said, your husband? He says, he's also Johnson. I said, is he a Muslim? I said, yes. Living on Johnson Road. Look, but now I have to ask, are you Muslim? Are you Muslim? If Mr. Johnson came, Mr. Johnson, I don't know whether he's a Muslim, but if he's got something on, I know he's a Muslim. I want to know so I can wish you. If I wish you salams before you can wish me, I get more blessings. Between our Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Sahabas, there was a continuous competition. And our Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was ever the first. The Sahabas were trying to beat him in wishing salams first, but they couldn't. They couldn't. He was the first. And he was the last to withdraw his hand from another's clasp. Last. Anybody shook hands with him? He's not the first to withdraw it. Like some of us do, you give your hand like a piece of ham, No. He was the last to withdraw. That means you have to withdraw your hand. This is what he taught us. He taught us, he says, you see, the younger should wish the elder first. He said, you see, the guy who's coming down the steps must wish the one who's going up the steps. Naturally. The guy who's riding a horse or a camel or a donkey, he must wish the one who's walking. All this detail he gave us. But the problem is, what are we going to wish the guy that we see? We don't recognize who he is. And this, the Muslim, the Indian Muslim, he is going off. He's too clever. Islam is not in the hat. Islam is not in the beard. It's in the heart. But I said, now that means we can't recognize you. We don't know who you are. Unless it's very close relationship. We don't know. Generally, we don't know who's who. So I go to Mauritius. A lot of Indian Muslims there. And nobody wishes one another salams there, in that country. Hardly. Some of the leading young men were taking me from meeting people. In the street, the leading guys of the societies. Nobody is wishing salams. Nobody. I'm wondering, I'm inquisitive. I want to know why. Reason is because they all look alike. The Creole, the Indian, the Hindu, the Christian, everybody is the same. No identity. So now you don't want to make a fool of yourself. If you don't know, the guy looks familiar. But he says, Assalamu alaikum. I say, what's that? What do you say? You don't want to feel embarrassed. So rather, keep quiet. In Canada, the Muslims now, they say, hi, hi. Because it's safer. You don't make a mistake. You say hi, he knows hi. You might say salam, what's that? Huh? You swearing me? No, you don't swear anybody. You don't want to create problem unnecessarily. So when I return from Mauritius after this experience, they give me a chance to speak in the Jumma Masjid, Durban. And I shared this ayah. I read it and I started to explain. I says, you see, in Mauritius, this is my experience. People don't wish one another. And the reason is, they don't have a headgear. See, they're shy to have a headgear. Finished. That means gone. Now you don't know who's who. So after the Jummah, one of my dear friends, very close friend, from more than 30, 40 years, we are friends. Mr. G.M. Jamal, very well-known person. He is a sitarist, professional sitarist. He plays the sitar. So he tells me, Ahmed, he said, look, I want to tell you something, and you can tell it to the people. You can share it with the people. I said, what is it? He said, you see, our friend, the Golden Peacock, some Ali brothers, at a cinema they had a takeaway. And we are very close friends. So he says, now look, I go and stand there, and anybody comes for anything, I'm standing, chatting, passing time. So he says, half a dozen samosas, it's all right. He'll take it, fill it in the packet, give it to the man, take the money, give it to the teller. So he's standing there, and a young boy, handsome young lad, comes along. He says, I want half a dozen samosas. So he takes a paper bag, puts a half a dozen samosas, gives it to him, and he takes the money, he gives it to the cashier. Whether to giving change or not, I don't know what happened. He said, give it to the cashier. And he looks at the boy, handsome young boy, good looking. Says, boy, what's your name? So he says something like Mohamed so and so. So why didn't you wish me salams? You know, you're a Muslim child. You should have wished me salams. So the boy says, uncle, I thought you were a banya. Of course you don't. I don't know whether you know what it is. You see, me. I am a Muslim from the Bombay province. I speak Gujarati. That's my language. There are other Hindus. They also speak the same language like me. They look more like me than the Tamils and the Telugus. You know, the Madrasis. They are a little darker. It's just coming from different parts of the country. You see, they come from a place where the equator is going over the head. So they are better baked than my people. We come from a little north. The sun rays are hitting us at an angle. You still go further north, it's hitting them at a greater angle. So they are lighter. This is the less sunlight. People in Kashmir, they are like the Europeans. The Afghans are like the Europeans. Wallah. They look like the Buddhas. The children look like Buddhas, the Africans. In the complexions. See, it's the sun. So these guys are darker, my people are a little lighter. Because we come from a part of the country which the sun is not that intense. So they look like me, the Hindus, Gujarati Hindus of my language group. They look like me, we have the same surnames. Believe me. I haven't come across another Deedat yet, but look, there are so many. Muslim Desai, Hindu Desai. Muslim Patel, Hindu Patel. Muslim Bhula, Hindu Bhula. Muslim Bhula. So we speak the same language, we look alike. So that group of people, the Gujarati Hindu, we call them Banyas. Like the Jews, you know, they are the business people, we call them Banyas. So the young boy says, uncle, I thought you were a Banya. So he said, look, I can tell it to people. I said, right. Now, he's my dear friend. When we meet among friends, I remind him. I said, you remember? I said, yes. I said, you know, Akhi Jibreel, you know, Jibreel alayhi salam. If he wanted to tell you to put on a headgear, he couldn't have done a better job. Then, from the mouth of the child, Allah is making to tell you the message that, uncle, I thought you are a mushrik. That's what he's saying. Uncle, I thought you were a mushrik. That's what he's saying. I thought you were a mushrik. How can I make you salams? That means this Jibreel alayhi salam couldn't have done a better job. To tell you, put on a headgear, put on a topi. He says, no. I said, look, I'm a Muslim. So somebody said, no. I said, why didn't you wish me salam? He said, I thought you were a colored. Meaning a Christian. I don't know what names you might have used some terms, I don't know. So I thought you were such and such, you know. You see, so I said, there it is. And still he won't. He still won't put on. Now that's a sickness. That to me is an unforgivable sickness. Allah is delivering a message to you. Put it on. Put it on. And what it does, in Natal, we are 20% of the Indians, we are Muslim, we are 20%. 1 out of every 5 Indian is a Muslim. 1 out of every 5. If you count Hindu, Christian, Muslim. Hindu, Muslim. Hindu, Christian, Muslim. But out of every 5, 1 is a Muslim. In Stanger, a town, some 40 miles north of Durban, we are 30% are Muslims in that place. 30%. I said, you know, if this 30% only put on a headgear, what you can do to the enemy? The outside. He'll be terrified. Because the others are all like sheep and goats you can't recognize. But you see the guy with a kufya. Kufya you call it. What do you call it? Kufya. Yes. Kufya. And that's visible. That's what you see. The others are like sheep and goats. You don't see them as if they don't exist. But the kufya is visible. When that happens, it boosts your morale. I didn't know there were so many Muslims here. And the enemy, so many Sunnah followers, Muras here. It terrifies them, wallah, it terrifies them. And our Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave us the secret of this psychology. He said, when the Eidains come, the 2 Eids, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, he said, go to the Eidgah, in the open air outside the town. Look, this is not politics, your politics. I don't know what are your politics here. I'm not talking about your politics. You know, whether it's a judicial council or whether it's this, what they're talking, I don't know. And I don't care. I am only telling you what our Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said. He said, when the Eidains come, go to the open field. He called it Eidgah. Open field for Salat. He said Salatul Eid. And when you go, he said, you must take your women and children also with you. And he went further than that. He said, even menstruating women. In Islam, it's not fard on them to make salat.